Hello and welcome to SHRP Talk, the show by washed up athletes for washed up athletes looking to be their best self. On today's show, Jaden and I were joined by Eli Stader. Eli is a record-setting kicker who just wrapped up his career at Northwestern College. We dive into his background and upbringing, how he transitioned from soccer into football, and some of the parallels and differences between those two sports. We also talk a lot about mindset and how he applied that to his kicking and some other hobbies of his, including ultra running and golfing. We also dive into a discussion around Holy 40, of which Eli was a member of when we ran our first challenge around 2 or 3 months ago. He shares some of his experiences and takeaways from that challenge. We get into that around the last 20 minutes of the show. So if you're interested in learning more about that and some things Eli took away from that challenge, highly recommend checking that out and listening to some of the details. Jaden and I are launching another edition of Holy 40 heading into the new year, starting on January 6th. We're looking for 7 people who are looking to compete with themselves and others in an attempt to be the very best versions of themselves. This is based around 12 different habits related to movement, lifestyle, nutrition, sleep, mindset. It's an all-encompassing challenge that's going to really challenge you and push you for 40 days, but also going to help you to be your best self. So if you're interested in that, just reach out to Jaden or I, and yeah, you can hear it from Eli first, some of the great benefits of that challenge. But hopefully you enjoy this episode, and thanks for tuning in. Before we get rolling with today's episode, I want to take a second to tell you about SHRP Training. Snyder Health Recovery and Performance Training is an online training platform to help washed up athletes look, feel, and move better. We offer several different group options catered to your needs, interests, and goals, with new programs delivered each month through the Team Builder app. Features include video demonstrations, 24/7 messaging and feedback, and access to the Sharp Edge, a comprehensive guide to upgrade your diet, sleep, and life. Use the code PODCAST in all caps to get 50% off your first month when checking out a program. Iron sharpens iron, so let us help you become your sharpest self. Now let's go. And we're back with another edition of SHRP Talk. Today, Jaden and I have the pleasure of being joined by record-breaking, now former Northwestern College kicker, Eli Stader. Stade, welcome to the pod.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How's the Christmas for you? How's the week been?
It was good. I was out east with some family and just got back. And it's good to not eat as much food and be able to exercise a little bit. It's always good for the body. So, yeah.
I've kept thinking the last few days that I'm done eating bad food, but now we have another family gathering tonight, and I'm sure I'll do it again tomorrow. So we're just gonna call it a cheat week and see or a cheat day. We'll bounce back next week or going into the new year. Well, thanks for hopping on. If you just want to go ahead and give a little background about who you are, where you're from, you can just kind of get into some general stuff, and then we can kind of break it down as we go.
Sure. Yeah. My name's Eli Stader. Yeah, I guess former kicker at Northwestern. I just graduated a few weeks ago. Played 5 years for the Red Raiders. Just loved being part of the team. Loved being in Orange City. First 2 years, I also played soccer. Didn't love that as much, but yeah. And on top of football, so I don't have to do too much when it comes to football. I practices and meetings, so I try and dive into some other hobbies outside of football. Those include golf. Really gonna start diving into that a little deeper now that I have a lot more time on my hands and don't have football to worry about. So yeah, just trying to, any chance I get, I like to be outside, like to stay active and go from there and see what I can involve myself in.
Yeah, where are you from originally?
Wisconsin, Oostburg, Wisconsin. It's on the far east side, right on Lake Michigan.
Nice. What was growing up? Were sports always kind of part of your background? Was it soccer and football early on, or what kind of were you involved in growing up and then through high school?
Yeah, it was just soccer. I didn't play football until senior year of high school. Uh, Here in Wisconsin, football or boys soccer's in the fall, and so they didn't let me play 2 sports until senior year. I finally convinced them. So, but yeah, growing up, super into soccer all year round. aside from the winter months. And yeah, didn't really play too many other sports, just soccer.
When'd you get into golf?
When I got to college and I had a bunch of free time, and I was like, oh, I don't have to go to meetings or practice. And I was like, well, I could play video games, but maybe I should do something other than play video games. So
Yeah. So you didn't really
Cool.
play golf until you got to college?
no, I've only been playing for a few years. Yeah.
Because
Impressive.
I feel like I've seen you. Have you worked at a couple courses in Wisconsin or
So
played at sometime?
yeah. So in the summers, I've caddied at Whistling Straits. It was the host of a few PGA championships, and then most recently the 2020 Ryder Cup. And so they have a sister course. And so between those two courses, there's 5 courses that, I have access to. So I've just been super blessed to be able to play all those for free really whenever I want. Hop out there all summer. So when I come to Orange City and all I have is Landsmere, it gets a little old after a while, but yeah, no, definitely having that at the helm and just at my fingertips has been great. And really just diving into golf, it's like, all right, well, I got all these hard courses. I guess I better get good quick. So
Yeah. I'm on opposite end, or me and Jaden are kind of both opposite end of the spectrum. We grew up Larchwood, 9-hole, just easy course, and then we play Landsmere, and that feels like really high end compared to what we're used to. It's like 18 holes. So I'm like,
it's funny.
little perspective shift. But so when you got, or you said your senior year you did football, what was that transition like? Had you ever dabbled with kicking much before then?
No, I got a call from our football. I came from a super small high school, so everyone kind of knows everyone. And the football coach was one of my teachers, and we were friends. And he called me over the summer, and he was like, "Hey, what do you think about coming out for football?" And I was like, "Hey, we've had this conversation. I'd love to, but I'm not gonna step away from soccer." And so he said, "All right, let me see what I can do, and we'll go from there." And he calls me back about a week later, and he's like, "All right, I had a meeting with your coach, with your soccer coach, and he said, as long as you don't miss practices or games, and all you got to do for us is show up on Friday afternoons and just kick in the games. That's all we really need you for." And I was like, "Okay, great. That works perfect." But I'd never really kicked before, kicked a football. It came pretty easily, though. It's just pretty similar to soccer, as a lot of people would tell you, obviously, that you hear all the time. But I just fell in love with it right away. It was awesome. I loved the pressure of it, kind of being in the spotlight a little bit and just being able to like have a name out there. I don't know if I could deal with just being another offensive lineman or just another linebacker kind of thing. But no, I loved it. I loved the aspect of the team was something that I'd never really been part of. Like I had a ton of friends on soccer and always felt like home. But when you're on a football team with a bunch of dudes and you're really doing life with them, it's just so different than any other sport. And I think that you guys would probably speak to that as well. It's just the relationships you build and the bonds that you build with the guys around you is just unbeatable, uncomparable to any other sport, really. And so that year I went well. I was pretty successful, and just kind of had some people like, "Hey, you should try to play this in college." And my plan was always play soccer in college. And I was like, well, football's a lot less work, and I could get paid a lot more from a school than I would be just another soccer player. So started looking around. Had some interest from a few schools, went and visited, didn't really love them. And then, leading Northwestern, then pretty much I was there for a soccer visit and to watch one of my buddies play soccer. And then I was like, hey, they have a football team. Maybe I'll go talk to the coach. So I called or emailed McCarty or something and walked in his office. I was like, hey, I kick. I don't know if you have any need for a kicker or whatnot. I might be coming to school here. I'd love to be part of your program. He was like, yeah, I think we can make some room for you. So that's kind of how that all began. And yeah, I've loved it ever since. I still don't really understand the game of football all too well. I wish I knew it a little more. There's times on the sideline where I'll be like, wait, what is that? What does that mean? What do you mean there's a lineman downfield? They can't run down the field. And so, but no, it's been awesome. I've learned a lot, and yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, I'm curious with like the mental aspect. There is a lot of pressure. Is there ways that you maybe like quick flush after a miss, or what are the things you do mentally to kind of stay locked in and have like a short-term memory as a kicker?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've done is when like pregame, if I've got my headphones in, it's not like your rap, it's not your pump up music. I'm not trying to take smelling salts or trying to pop or fill my body with ibuprofen. It's more calming music. It's that alternative. I like to keep the blood pressure low, the heart rate low, just stay as calm as I can. And yeah, I mean, no one's perfect. I'm going to miss. It is what it is. But yeah, being able to flush that, say, you know what, let's go make the next one is just extremely important. You can really easily kind of get in your head and start missing and missing. You're like, oh, what am I doing? And I'm trying to change too much. But, just, hey, like I'm here for a reason. I know I can make this. So, yeah, just flush it, move on. I don't ever get super nervous or stressed out about situations. I don't mind that. So I think that's probably helped me, obviously. But yeah, I live for those moments for, this one's actually important. There were a lot of kicks throughout my college career that weren't really important because we just blow teams out. But this year kind of got a glimpse of, hey, these kicks are important. Like we got to make them. So helps you lock in a little bit.
Do you feel like that mentality helped with golf when you're picking that up? Because it's kind of I was never like a special teamer. Like Jaden did some kicking, but I think golf is a good parallel in the sense that you have to have a short memory with one shot from the next, like not letting one shot define you. But that's even more so in college or in football. Like PAT is one thing, but you may have one, if any, like true field goal attempts in a game. So do you feel like that helped you, or like any like parallel between those two sports?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think a lot of times I'll make a joke to someone about how I'm going to leave practice and go golf, and they'll be like, "Oh, and it's kind of the same thing, like trying to understand how the ball is going to come off your foot, same thing as how it's going to come off a club." And yeah, there's a lot of similarities, but yeah, especially that aspect of like it's just you and the ball, and it's kind of up to you when you're on a play on offense. It's like, okay, I hope the other 10 guys do their job. Which I suppose the same for me too, but once that snap and holder down, it's like, all right, it's up to me. Or when you're standing in front of a long putt, like, all right, it's all me here. And if you miss, and all right, on to the next hole, we'll move on. But yeah, I think
And even I was even going to say like golf is similar to kicking, and like you can do well on the range, you can do well in warm-ups, but it's completely different when you're on the first tee, and it's completely different when you're kicking in a game. Like, do you have the ability to transfer that range session onto the course, or do you have the ability to take that warm up and put it into play? Because yeah, they're similar, but they're not. They're definitely different. They have their own lane. So I think it's also in that aspect. Like, are you a gamer or not?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Do you have like a routine? Did you have a routine in kicking? Because like you see a lot of different kickers. They do it differently. Some are soccer players and kind of just go up and kick it. Some are like super exact, like steps and angle and just everything they do, kind of like a free throw. Like a lot of kickers are that way. I'm curious if you have like a routine or superstitious about anything.
No, I don't.
In that,
I don't try to be too superstitious. I have a few little things that people have, said that they've noticed, and I've gone back on the film and been like, oh yeah, I guess I do kind of, turn my shoulder that way a little bit each time. But no, I don't actually really like the guys that are like super particular and it's like, all right, just kick the ball. But no, I think there is something to say about doing the same thing every time, just kind of getting in that routine. When I started, it was different every time. And so that's something that I have tried to work on and I'm still trying to work on too. Of like, all right, let's make it the same every single time.
because I was gonna say, even for those that don't know, me and Eli battled it out
We did.
near for that kicking spot, and I remember you were pretty like just straight up, I'm not really gonna step it off. Like even when we're doing like fast field goals, like you would just run out there and eyeball where you're supposed to be and just kick it. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, that's takes some skill just to go out there and just trust your steps and just kick it. So yeah, just a fun fact. If he didn't reach out to McCarty, I might have been kicking for.
Probably.
It's probably a good thing. Good thing that didn't happen with all the records he broke in the 60-yarder he had this year.
That's all right. But yeah, no, I think that definitely comes from soccer too. Just being comfortable over a ball and just saying like, all right, like mentally, as I approach the ball, if it's slightly different than the last time I just naturally am going to adjust to it. I think some people get so stuck on their routine and so stuck on doing the same thing every single time that if you do get thrown off just a little bit, like you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I mean, relating it to golf too, I feel like the best time or like the best times my swing have felt has just been when I'm not thinking about every little thing, just like step up and hit the ball. And I think that's, I mean, limiting it to one swing thoughts or not even thinking about anything. Like, and I don't know if you can attest to that for kicking, but I feel like that's just such a good spot to be in when you're not thinking about anything. You can just kick. I'm curious, like you said, like you don't get amped up or anything. Do you approach that the same for like, I know you had a 60-yarder this past year. Is it still the same mentality with that? Like, is there any different mindset shift for a kick like that?
No, I try not to. We've been talking about it for 4 or 5 years now with McCarty. He's like, all right, we're going to get along when we're going to get along when we never really have. And then finally you get put in the position and you don't want to hype yourself up too much. Be like, all right, this is the one. Like, I don't really want to go out thinking about that. It was a perfect day. And I was like, you know what? We're banging them in warm-ups. This is no different. We'll just go out there, kick, and hopefully we make it. So.
I'm curious with, you mentioned some of the culture differences between football and soccer. Is there any other major differences or like any pros and cons, like for one sport, to the next, like whether that's team culture or the sport itself, anything that comes to mind?
Yeah. I still miss soccer a little bit to these days or to this day, but um, I don't know. I love the fact of like you kind of have to give it your all, and you have to remember like I'm coming from a different perspective too. Like guys who play a football like a real position, like they're giving it their all every play. For me, it's just super different. Like I'm not like at the end of the game, I'm not tired. Um, And I think that that's one thing about soccer that I do miss is it's like you can sit there and you're playing on the field and everyone else is giving it their all, and it pushes you to do that as well. Whereas in football, I have to remember like, okay, these guys are giving it their all. I don't feel like I'm giving it my all, but we're all part of this team, and I still got to find a way to step up, even if I'm not going to be sweating or breathing heavy at all. But I think that just the locker room talks and the fact that you're with the team more than just at practice. In soccer, you don't have meetings necessarily. You don't watch film. You don't really dive into who you're playing and take a deeper look at what are these guys' tendencies. It's just like, all right, we're going to go play our game and hopefully that it, matches up well against our opponent. Where in football, you spend the whole week planning to make sure that how you approach the game, can defend them or can attack them in their weak spots. And so I think being part of a football team, just you get so much closer to these guys as you're spending more than just time, but mentally you're spending more time with them as well, and you're putting in more effort to make sure that how you perform on Saturday is where it needs to be. And yeah, and the other thing about college soccer is there's so many international guys, is that the team atmosphere and the team culture, it's kind of hard to create a team culture just because everyone sees the sport a little differently. They all play the sport a little differently. And I think that even once you get to some of the bigger schools in football too, it can get to that point. You got guys from all over the world coming. And I think that's one thing that some people would say holds Northwestern back, but I would say kind of sets them apart is that, I mean, how many guys are coming from that Northwest Iowa area? Or just the culture you can build and the fact that everybody kind of knows what to expect, and that's just the way they've been living. It's just awesome. And little blue collar, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's what makes us who we are.
For sure. Any favorite like memories or kicks or anything in general from your career you can look fondly back on? I know you had some big time kicks this last year, but anything else from your whole career?
Not necessarily football wise. I mean, this year, yeah, definitely. Especially near the end of the season, there were some times where kicks maybe meant a little more. Um, but yeah, just the fact that like coming in as a freshman, as Jaden alluded to, is like we both came. I walked out there that first day of fall camp, and there's Jaden, 6'1", just shredded and just ready to go. He's got a nicer helmet. He's got a nicer practice jersey. It's like, all right, well, I didn't know this guy was coming. And then, but yeah, he was just awesome. And, we pushed each other a little bit, and I think the competition was good for both of us on our respective ends. But just even like as a freshman, some of my best friends freshman year were the older guys, and the juniors and seniors, even fifth years at that time, of just like how much trust they put into me. And that's something that I was thankful for, and I'm still very gracious for, is that, it doesn't really matter how young you are. If you can prove yourself and you can go out there and make it happen, then you're going to catch the eye of other people, and, you're going to prove to not just your teammates, but yourself too, that like you're here for a reason. You're meant to be here, and you can perform when it matters most. I think that obviously the national championship was a special year, something that I'll never forget. Has to be top of the memories for me. Aside from this year, halfway through the season, I wasn't even sure if we'd make playoffs, but just being able to turn it around, and guys did what they needed to do, and we made it. It's hard when you look at like when I look at my college career, and you look at this year as a failure, and yet we made it to the quarterfinals and lost to the team that won the national championship. Like, that is so rare. That's such an oddity. And to be able to say that you played in 3 national championships in 5 years, and the other year you lost in the semifinals, and another year you lost in the quarterfinals, is just crazy, and something that, a tiny percentage and fraction of people across the country could say.
Yeah, it's crazy what the standard's gone to at Northwestern. I feel like just even since Colin started, it's just like a continual ladder. And yeah, now we're expecting quarterfinals, and if we don't at least get there, it's somewhat of a disappointment. It just speaks to the standard of excellence, and I think it's really cool. Kind of speaking on your football career, what's next for you going forward?
Yeah, so I had a job lined up back home, and it was just like, all right, season's over, we're gonna hang the cleats up. But throughout this season, I've just been kind of getting pushed by some people, like, hey, you need to see what the next step is, where you can go with this. So I was like, you know what, screw it. So I turned my job offer down and was like, I'm gonna, bet on myself and take a risk here for a little bit. And so I'm actually gonna be coming back to the Orange City area, gonna just keep grinding and working. I'm working on trying to get into a pro day or two right now, and then hopefully from there get an invite to the combine and see what happens. But I've got some emails out to the XFL teams, but hoping to try for the NFL. If the NFL XFL don't work out, I don't want to be that guy that like hangs on forever either. He's still living at his parents' house at 30. Like, I might get a call next week, right? But I don't want 2 years down the road to be like, oh, I wish I would have done that. I sit on my couch even last night, and you watch guys miss 30, 40-yard field goals. It's like, all right, maybe I should at least give it a shot. So yeah, I'm going to see where I can go. Being at a small school, you kind of got to do all that work, behind the scenes work, and grunt work by yourself. But McCarty's been helpful. We're trying to work through what that looks like right now.
Yeah. I mean, you see guys in the league that are successful with a soccer background, like that Brandon Aubrey from the Cowboys is just balling, played pro soccer. You see like Tory Taylor from Australia. They're recruiting a bunch of these soccer guys, and you can see the path.
Yep.
And yeah, I feel like if you just keep sticking with it, there's nothing wrong with trying. It's way better than looking back and being like, oh, what if I did? What if I could have? But yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think so. Never something I thought I'd be in a position to do, but I figured, hey, I might as well try. So.
Yeah, no regrets for sure. Hold off the career a little longer. For like the pro day or combine or whatever is ahead, do you know what that will all entail? Will it be kicking specific, or will there be other kind of like testing you have to be prepared for?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I could opt out of some of the other testing if I wanted as a kicker. I don't think you have to, but these next few months, I'm going to really try and dive in and just start training like crazy, so that I don't have to be that guy that opts out. And if I don't put up a good score, I don't put up a good score, but at least I tried. I think that, I don't know, vertical, bench, 40-yard dash, that one I might opt out of. I'm not sure.
Do you know the kicking specific? Is it like a certain number of kicks and they just see how many you make out of those? Or do you know how they do it?
I don't know. No, I would assume probably they just work you back along the hashes, back and forth, and then maybe up and down. I mean, there's going to be guys there that have a bigger leg, but I think that, they're probably more worried about, hey, can this guy hit consistently 45 in and hasn't missed a single one? Or can this guy hit a 70-yarder? I don't think they're going to care too much about that. So I'm hoping that's that's where I can hopefully have a slight edge on other people. Like, yeah, I can kick a long field goal, but some of these guys are hitting from crazy far back.
You alluded to some of the stuff you like to do outside of like football and soccer. I know we mentioned golfing already. What else do you like to do to stay active, or what do you see yourself doing to stay active when you do hang up the cleats? I know you mentioned running a little bit. What are some other ways you like to stay active?
I've got a few dogs, so walking dogs. But yeah, the running has just kind of taken over these last year-ish. It's like any free time I have, I'll head out. I have a couple sweet trails around here that I obviously you don't have that in Orange City, so I try and take advantage when I'm home. But yeah, go out there, spend the whole afternoon, put in 15, 20, 25, 30 miles, just grinding them out on the trails. But yeah, just kind of running, doing that kind of stuff. There's always, farm work to do around here too, so that keeps you busy.
I got asked as a former strength coach, what about the weight room? Do you enjoy working out, or do you have your own routine? What do you like doing weight room wise?
Yeah, I've never been a really big weight room guy. I'm trying to get into it in the last, I don't know, month and a half or so. I've been consistent and stayed on a routine, and I am starting to like it a little bit. The thing about running is like you just get addicted to that like high, and you get 6, 7, 8 miles in, and you don't even feel like you're running anymore. It's just awesome. I don't wear any headphones or listen to music. I just kind of like to, listen to myself think, listen to what's going on around me. But I'm starting to get to that in the weight room a little bit too, which is good. I've enjoyed it. This morning, actually, my buddy and I went and did a hot sculpt yoga, and it was so hard. It was so hard. But I was like, this is something that I could get into too, because you get to that point where your body's like, no more. And then that's where the brain takes over. And that's where I love to be. I love to push myself. And it's like, okay, yeah, my legs are numb. I can't feel them. I lost, feeling in on my toes a few miles ago, but like, how far can my brain and how far can I get before like I shut down completely? And that's something that, yeah, it just is a feeling of out of this world, to be honest. It's like you get to that point and it's just you against you, and like, how far can you go? I just love that. I strive for that.
How does the body hold up? Never mind.
Go ahead. I'm just wondering, like, you mentioned like that 6, 7, 8 mile mark is where you reach the high. I'm not a runner. I've never felt that. So you're telling me if I ever get to that point, that's what I need to get to.
And it's all a scale too. So like, if you, let's say like your goal is a half marathon, well, maybe you'll start hitting that high and your runs at like 3, 4, 5 miles. But like my runs are 50K, 50 miles. It's like, I don't want to reach that high too early, because then it's like, well, I ain't going to stay on that high forever. So
go ahead, Jaden.
I was going to ask how the body holds up after that mileage. Is there anything you do to stay recovered or improve recovery for a mileage like that?
Yeah, the few days after, I just try and move as much as possible. A lot of walking, but I don't want to get caught on a couch, because then you just start to get really stiff. Just try and keep eating healthy after, and trying to fill my body with fluids is usually what I do. But the worst has been, there's a winter race that I do every year, and it's on a Saturday, and you get 24 hours to complete it. And so usually I get done like Sunday morning early, but then like to turn around and drive 8 hours to Orange City. Then when I get out of the car there, that's the next 2 days are brutal. And then there's usually been like a 6 a.m. lift on Monday morning. So that's been a rough patch. But if I had the choice, it would just be stay around here and walk around, just drink as much as possible. Some stretching.
Is there a goal race, something you have in the mind that you're looking for, maybe down the road?
Some of the big ones I've looked at are like, I'd like to do a 200, 250 miler down the road. I think that would be awesome out in like Death Valley.
Yeah,
those would be what I'd like to do. I have a couple on the schedule right now that are a 50K, a 50 mile, and then then maybe a marathon or something too. I'm not sure, but yeah, those big ones I'd love to do. I think that it's not just to be able to say that I've done it, but just to be able to just know what my mind can push my body to do, I think is just so cool to me.
Are there any people in the space that you look up to, like ultra runners in the space? I know Goggins is like probably the most.
Yeah,
known,
Goggins is
but
kind of my hero. Any chance I'm in the car, I'm listening to a Goggins podcast. I find him to be awesome.
yeah, I've read. I think both of. Does he have 2 books? I think
I've only read one of them.
I like the first one more than I like the second one, but yeah, he's pretty inspirational in what he has been through and what he was and what he's gotten to. I think it's really cool. But yeah, some of that stuff is pretty crazy. It's a lot of miles, but like Leadville 100, I know that one's a popular one. But yeah, that stuff is pretty cool. So curious to see what you end up getting into.
I'd love to turn it into like more full-time thing. So we'll see. Like maybe caddy and then spend half the year just traveling and doing these massive races. I don't know yet. We'll see.
It's a pretty good life right there.
My mom wouldn't say so, but I think it would be pretty cool.
Just make some money in the league for a few years and then
that'd be the A1 plan right now.
Was it pretty easy to get a gig as a caddy, or what was that process like?
Yeah, there's so many of them. I think there's like 300 of them just at Whistling, for a season, and so like they're constantly hiring people. And the best part about it is it's a nationwide company that you're hired by. You're hired by Caddy Master, and Caddy Master supplies dozens of courses around the country. And so, like you could do the summer season at Whistling, and then obviously they close for the winter. So you can just get transferred without having to apply or having to reach out to anyone. They'll just transfer you to, let's say TPC Scottsdale is a big one that a bunch of my buddies go to, or even Sawgrass. And then you'll have the guys that go to their other private courses that they're part of. But no, it's a good gig. It's a lot of work. You want to talk about miles is caddying. Because you're talking, I mean, at Whistling, that's not even, it's like 79 from the tips, but you're talking like 8 miles around, and then you could put in 2 rounds in a day. And so you're just walking 16 miles. Each round takes like 5 hours. So yeah, they're long days, but it's rewarding. You know, you get to the end, and just the joy that people have too is they're just there and they're not worried about work. They're not necessarily worried about their family. They're just worried about, you know, taking in what's around them and playing good golf, and you're there to keep the spirits high. So yeah, it was.
You ever seen any of the
Seen what?
Ever seen any of the pros around Whistling?
I haven't caddied for them. There'll be a couple that come through, but usually the coolest guys are like the professional athletes, and some other, you know, celebrities and social media influencers that come through. They're there all the time, and they're always cool to have. They're fun to talk to, and they pay really well.
Well, we hit on some of the like post athletic ways to stay active. One of the things I know you did a couple of months back was our Holy 40 challenge, so we can get into that a little bit. Just curious what your general experience was with that 40-day challenge, and maybe what your thoughts were and what you enjoyed or were challenged by in that.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. You guys were posting like crazy about it for a while, and I was like, all right, they got to chill out. But then I was like, you know what, maybe I should do this. And you kept posting. I was like, all right, they got to still have spots. So I reached out, and sure enough, there were some openings. But yeah, I loved it. I think that the movement part of it was something that I just naturally do, but the eating and the lifestyle changes I thought were tough. They were tough. Yeah, if you looked back on my days, like the first couple weeks were rough. Just kind of trying to get into that routine, and kind of break some old routines. Like why am I scrolling for an hour every night before I go to bed was a big one. And yeah, the eating was pretty hard too, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that accountability. I think that one thing that pushes me is when there's competition. That kind of drives me away from complacency. Similar to like freshman year when there were other kickers there. It's like there's a reason that freshman year I was so much more successful than the couple of years following. Is like there was no competition following that. And so just like we didn't necessarily talk to them and communicate with the other people all that often, but knowing that they were on the other end of that group chat and that they were trying to push themselves to win, really just made me be the best I could be each day. And yeah, I thought that overall was pretty good. I think that the fact that it was all kind of trust based, the point scoring, at first I was kind of getting caught up on is like, what if people aren't, being honest? But eventually I was like, you know what, if they're going to lie just to win this competition, like they got other issues. So, and I think that's something that's really hard to find a way to do it other than that, unless you were to like, require everyone to have a watch that like all, sent in the results or whatnot. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was super helpful. I gained a lot of knowledge about, what I should be doing each day and what I should be putting in my body. And it's helped a couple routines that have since changed and I've been able to keep from that too. And then there's a couple things that when I'll scroll back through my photos and see the picture of all the rules, it's like, all right, well, maybe I should try and do these a little more often too this week. But no, I thought it was, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I think the competition aspect is the biggest part of it. Like Jaden and I really like working with former athletes just because we like people who compete, and I think it's easy to lose that after your playing career is done. But I think that's one of the best ways to get back into it is not only competing with other people, but also competing yourself, and also in a bunch of these different areas, and having like a point system and a reward system with that. It's kind of a nice way to get that feedback. For you, was it more so? It sounds like it was more so competing with other people. Was it also a competition with yourself, like trying to beat your point totals from the previous day or previous week, or what was that approach like for you?
Yeah, I think that it was more so the building the routine of like, no, I don't want to do this today. Or like, okay, what's one point going to do if I don't get it today? Of like, all right, don't have that mindset, stay locked in, and yeah, trying to get to that maximum point total. And those days that you do that, you are able to send the text back. It's like, yes, 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 yes. It's a good feeling. And you're kind of waiting for Jaden to text you like, come on, I want to tell him I got them all yesterday. And then, but on the other hand, it's those days that you missed 3, 4, 5 of them, and it's like, all right, well, he's going to text me, but I'm going to be honest, but maybe or hopefully today and tomorrow, we can pick that back up. But yeah, I thought that, yeah, just knowing that you're bettering yourself and being able to like physically see the results and feel the results too, is something that pushes me. It's like, all right, it's only been half the time and I already see some of these results paying off, and I see some of these routines shifting to a more positive way than what they were. And so let's work even harder the second half to try and boost the results for these next 20 or whatever days.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is really to gamify it early, but then to have you do it often enough to see the actual benefit and see the result, and then do it without doing it for the competition, right? You do it to feel better. You do it because it's helping you from a healthy standpoint, and not necessarily just because it's getting you points and getting you more than the next person. So I think, as Colin said, competition is really good. It pushes us to levels we didn't think we could be. And I think as long as you don't make it a comparison game and get down on yourself for not maybe performing to what you could be, I think it's really beneficial when you look at just pushing yourself to that next level, right? If we do anything with someone else pushing us, I think we're going to do it better than by ourselves, just because we have that person to both keep us accountable, but also maybe find our weaknesses or enhance our strengths. So I think it's just a testament to the people that are willing to take a leap of faith, because it is a challenge. It does cost money, but at the end of the day, you're trying to better yourself. And I think there's value in the competition. I'm curious if there's anything you didn't like, or anything, a task that maybe was your enemy.
Yeah.
Challenge. I'm curious.
Yeah. The 7 ingredients in my food. That was the biggest one I probably missed. I probably only hit that one half the days. That, like, you can't even have tortillas. It's like, well, I like, making my food into something, not just, you sent that picture on the second day, you're like, here's what I'm eating. And it was just like meat, raspberries, and something else. I was like, no, I need to find a way to mix my food to make it taste like something. But then that's when you realize like, okay, well, maybe that's an issue. Maybe like there is a reason that these foods by themselves need to just be eaten by themselves too. That's the one that kind of got me. And the fiber and protein too, like when I started looking at like how much of that I was going to have to consume each day as well, it's like, okay, I got to find other ways to consume this other than just protein shakes with a bunch of flaxseed and in them. But no, but like even a plug for Holy 42, it's like you literally get a free personal trainer for 40 days. And like I still will go on the app and look at some of the old workouts too. It's like it's not like you're just paying to hopefully you can make yourself better. Like you're paying to have someone hand you the tools that you need in order to, change your life and change the routines that you have each day. It's like what isn't there to, yeah, you may not win and get paid in the end, but you paid a very minimal amount to change your life around and set some new routines that hopefully you can carry on forever.
Yeah. I think it's unique where it's something where I feel like me and Colin kind of have the answers to the test, and it's just up to the person to be willing to take the test. And so I think it's unique from that standpoint where it's something that's easier said than done, right? You can see it on the page or you can see what needs to be done, but can you consistently do the mundane, the routine stuff that actually takes you to that next step? So I think it's unique. And yeah, the nutrition stuff really opens your eyes, right? Like there's a lot of things on the shelves that are not less than 7 ingredients, and it's tough. It really is to find the things that you enjoy and can eat on a consistent basis that are actual whole foods and that aren't processed in today's society. And I think it's good for the challenge. It's obviously not something you're going to be able to do, I think, throughout the year. I think that's a bit of a stretch just with today's food, but I think it definitely opens your eyes to the processing part of the food industry.
Yeah, even if you can just take one meal a day and be like, all right, for dinner tonight, I'm gonna not have any food, have 7 or more ingredients too. It just can make a big change as well.
Yeah, even like the ingredients one, it's obviously hard to do on a day-to-day basis, but it also at least not forces you, but it makes you want to look at like an ingredients label for the first time, and you just like question like, okay, what is, like, I can't pronounce this, like what is actually in the food that I'm eating? And maybe something every day. Like I would do tortillas, like low carb tortillas every single day. And then like when Jaden started this challenge, I looked at the ingredient list. I'm like, dude, there's 50 ingredients in this, and I don't know what any of it is. It's like just makes you ask questions and like find those areas of weakness. Like same as you, I would have said for movement wise that I do really good with that because I work out every day. But I realized like starting a new like desk job, like I was not moving throughout the day at all. So it just opens your eyes to those weaknesses. And then also, even if you don't fully understand why it's beneficial, you can experiment with that. And for 40 days, I feel like is a long enough time to implement a habit and see what benefits there are from it. And I think through doing that, maybe you don't know why, but doing it consistently, maybe you feel those benefits and feel better, feel more energy. Is there any of those habits that maybe you felt different, that maybe you've stuck with, or anything that you felt like was a big help for you in general?
One of the ones was the moving after you eat each night. Like I can definitely feel that if I have a big dinner and then I go, sit on the couch and watch a football game for the rest of the night and then go to bed, is you just kind of feel bloated. You feel heavy. But yeah, just like I made it a routine, still make the routine is like, okay, dinner in the next, I don't know, half hour, I'm going to try and go walk my dog. Doesn't have to be very far, even just half mile. But yeah, that one I think is one of the ones that I still do to this day. And I think I can feel it every morning when I wake up too, is you don't feel like all that food's just been sitting in you overnight.
Yeah, and it's something that's really easy and often it's easier just to sit on the couch and maybe time your exercise one time throughout the day, but just even 5 to 10 minutes after a meal is profound in just the impact of like that food being absorbed into the muscles, into the body. And yeah, I think that's one that's it like the amount of work you have to do for the benefit it's just opening the eyes of the people and letting them see that there is an impact. is there anything you felt like from the lifestyle point of view that benefited you?
I have to go look at those again. I know that actually sticking to, usually in the summers, I don't have an issue with the bedtime one. Is like sticking to a predetermined and kind of waking up at the same time, going to bed the same time. But really easily during the school year when you don't have a class that starts till, 9:30, 10, 10:30, is you're like, okay, I can stay up till 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock. That one I know was important. But the lifestyle wise, the meditation, breathwork, or journaling is something that I've never done before. Just kind of taking a moment, and it's sort of just a moment out of your day to just stop, the stimulation of your phone or a TV, and put that away and start writing things down. Like, hey, how do I feel? What am I feeling right now? What would I like to accomplish today? And what do I have to do to get there? I think is something that I don't necessarily do to this day every day, but there are times, like even today, half an hour before we started, I was like, all right, I'm going to set my phone down, just kind of think about what's going on, think about what I want to accomplish. I think is something that, can go a long way for people that easily get anxious or stressed out. It's like, just put the phone down maybe for just a little bit. And the reaching out to people too, I thought was kind of like a flip flop of like, I'm, saying, hey, thank you for this. But in reality, like, you get a lot of nice messages back and you start conversations and talking to people that you didn't think you may talk to. And that goes a long way too. I'm a firm believer in, building relationships and being intentional about those relationships. And when you reach out to someone that, hey, you maybe haven't talked to in a year or two, and then, hey, I'm still talking to them to this day, every day. It's like, it goes a long way. The lifestyle one was, more about stop thinking about yourself and maybe think about others. And I think that that's something that's just crucial to do each day for even just a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think and the habits hit on it, but like true health isn't just limited to how you exercise, how you move. I think it's all encompassing. It's it's the hour that you're training, but also the 23 hours, what you're doing outside of that, how you're recovering, how you're fueling, and how you're treating your mind, and finding that time to, we're so used to noise and go, but finding time to slow down and journal or read your Bible, pray, whatever it is. Like, I think just finding that time and just focusing on health in all areas is a big key. I guess for anyone who would be on the fence about doing it, if you have any like final encouragement or things to say as far as pushing them towards doing the challenge.
Yeah, I think the way that Jaden put it was perfect. It's like, you guys have the answers to the test. It's just, are you willing to sit down and take the test? I think is a perfect way to look at it. It's like, you're given everything you need. You're given the tools. You're given the instruction, and you just have to battle with yourself. And it's more mentally than physically. Like the movement, yeah, you could say it's physical, but when you start looking at the other 9 things, it's like, it's about way more than just making sure you work out every day. And that's what I think that this challenge does a great job, keying in on, is like, yeah, you can go to the gym, but if you leave the gym and, you go get a massive meal from McDonald's every day, it's like, did you really go to the gym? And yeah, I think that anyone on the fence, definitely dive in. It's a great opportunity to not only see how you do against other people and look at it as a competition, but really to see what you're capable of and what you're willing to do when, it gets a little tricky, it gets a little tough. It's like, all right, let's battle through this. And at the end of the day, I can prove to myself that, hey, I did something hard today. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, it's truly an investment in yourself. And I think you do yourself a disservice if you don't just commit to the process, right? You see the impact that movement has on sleep, that nutrition has on sleep, that nutrition has on movement. Like, they're all interrelated. So like you said, maybe there's 1 or 2 that you struggle on, and maybe there's some that just come naturally, right? So maybe you move really well. Well, now the challenge is 9 tasks, right? It's not 12. So I think it's just finding a way to commit to yourself, invest in yourself, and just see what works, what doesn't, right? You don't have to agree with every single task, right? You don't have to get 12 out of 12 every single day. But it's just investing in yourself and seeing what you can make of it, right? You don't know your best self until you truly invest, right? You don't know what it's like to eat clean, to sleep well, to move, to do all these lifestyle things and feel what it's like to be the best version of yourself, right? A lot of us don't necessarily focus on our own health. We don't know what it's like to feel our best. So I think it's just finding it in ourselves to just fully commit and explore. Use this new year as a way to take that next step and that leap of faith. I think could be really beneficial for the listeners.
Yeah, it's not about being perfect with it. Like, I'd love to meet the person who can do 12 out of 12, 40 days or every day of their life. But I think it's just like, seeing what kind of streak you can put together with those different habits. And obviously with, weekends or vacations or, life is going to happen and you just have to give yourself grace in those moments. But it's also just waking up the next day and, like you said earlier, competing with yourself, competing with others, and just trying to make today or tomorrow the best that you can and learning what you can from yesterday. So appreciate you going through the challenge and taking that on. And you did win it though, right?
I did, yeah.
You did
Yeah.
get the most. Let's go. Big time. Big dog. First annual.
Yeah.
Holy
I'm looking forward to the free month too. I keep texting Jaden. I was like, all right, I'm going to push that free month off until the new year. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Sick. Jaden, anything else?
No, I think we're solid.
Awesome. Well, Eli, I appreciate you hopping on and your feedback and going through the challenge, and wish you the best of luck and whatever next football wise and beyond. Just looking forward to seeing what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for having me. It was good to catch up. Good to, dive into some of these things too. So
yeah, absolutely. All right. Till next time.
Thanks, brother.
thanks, fellas.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a rating, review, or tell a friend to check us out. Be sure to follow us at SHRP_training for more content to help you be your best self. Go be great today.